on to the October Planning Commission meeting. We're going to start off with a word of prayer, and we've got Pastor Jacob Lynn with Cabot United Methodist Church. Thanks for being here, Pastor. Please stand. We're going to start with prayer and the pledge of allegiance.
Thank you for the invitation. If you would please bow with me. Holy God, I give you thanks for these servants. I pray that your wisdom moves among these decisions and conversations, that every traffic concern would be cleared, every road would be straight, every business would flourish, and these citizens would be lifted up in prosperity. Guide these conversations today. We give you thanks. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Going in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to go ahead and open the Planning Commission meeting, and we'll start with roll calls.
Ward.
Here.
Bird.
Here.
Lowe.
Here.
Prater.
Here.
Knapp.
Here.
Chairman Young.
Here.
O'Gwen.
Here. All right, we do have six. We do have a quorum for tonight's business meeting. Let's go ahead and get acceptance of the meeting minutes from last month. You all received a packet. If I could get a motion to approve those Board of Adjustment meeting minutes. I'm sorry, Planning Commission meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion from Commissioner Prater. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Ward. A roll call vote, please.
Ward.
Yes.
Prater.
Yes.
Knapp.
Yes.
Bird.
Yes.
O'Gwen.
Yes.
Lowe.
Yes.
All right, let's go ahead and shift over into our Board of Adjustment meeting. We'll start with the roll call for it.
Ward.
Here.
Bird.
Here.
Prater.
Here.
O'Gwen.
Here.
Lowe.
Here.
Knapp.
Here.
Chairman Young.
Here. All right, six, we do have a quorum. Let's go ahead and approve the meeting minutes from our September Board of Adjustment meeting. If I could get a motion to approve. Motion from Commissioner Lowe, or a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Knapp. Roll call vote, please.
Prater.
Yes.
Knapp.
Yes.
O'Gwen.
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Bird.
Yes.
Lowe.
Yes.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get into the first item of business for the Board of Adjustment. Laura? I'm sorry, Aaron, you want to kick it off?
2418 Canterbury Court, a variance to allow for encroachment into the rear setback. Bill Hammond.
All right, now Laura.
Okay, good evening. Again, as Aaron said, this is property located at 2418 Canterbury Court. The property owner is Bill and Jackie Cammons. They submitted an application to our office to build a sunroom on the rear of their property, and it encroaches within the 25-foot setback. The property is at the corner of Canterbury and Bluestone in the Stonehaven subdivision. The property is improved with an existing approximately 2,051 square foot single-family detached dwelling with garage. It currently covers the property with 18% coverage. The regulations allow for coverage of up to 30% of the lot. So they are wanting to add a 12 by 20 sunroom, and it would encroach to approximately have 14 feet within the rear setback is what they would have. So this is what they submitted. They were denied the building permit, so that's why they are here before you to ask for a variance to encroach in that rear setback.
Okay. Commissioners have any questions for Laura? Thank you, Laura. Is the applicant here tonight? You would come up and state your name and provide any additional detail.
Bill Hammonds. And the property where we want to put that sunroom, nobody on the right side, people on the left side are far enough away and won't bother them. And the people behind us, the back of their house they don't object to it. So they're okay with it.
So this is gonna be a sunroom that's enclosed, glassed in, heated and cooled space, so it'll be a part of the house structure itself,
Yes.
correct? So the setback will end up being, is it 14 feet, is that what I saw? 14.1 feet? Commissioners, have any questions?
Laura, what is the side yard setback for the property behind this?
8.
8.
Behind, just south on Page, right?
Correct. Because that house actually fronts on Bluestone. That's behind them.
Out of curiosity, what's the side yard setback on this lot? Is it 8 feet as well?
On Bluestone, it'll be 25. On the, what would be the north side is 8 feet. But it's currently built further than that.
So basically, if the garage was the front, it would be 8 feet where he's asking. If the garage was the front of the house, it would be 8 feet on this side. Just like his neighbor has 8 feet.
If the house was turned
Yeah.
90
If
degrees,
the house was turned and faced Bluestone, correct, yes,
Yeah.
their side yard would be 8 feet.
There's not any utility or drainage easements on that rear between those two houses.
Commissioners have any other questions for that? Okay, thank you, Mr. Hammond, appreciate it. Since it is public hearing, I want to ask if there's anyone that's speaking against this item? Or anyone else here to speak for this item? All right, seeing none, commissioners, discussion? Not entertain a motion.
so move.
A motion to approve from Commissioner Lowe, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Commissioner Ward, a roll call vote, please.
Lowe,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Bird,
Yes.
O'Gwen,
Yes. All right, 6-0, does pass, thank you. All right, it is 7:08, we're going to close the Board of Adjustment meeting, and we will go over into our public hearing for the Planning Commission. And first item of business, Aaron.
rezone Lincoln Street from C2 and R1 to R4H, Davidson Engineering.
Laura?
Sorry, I have to go back and forth since I don't have a microphone tonight. Okay, this piece of property, it may look familiar, because back in July, they did come before you for a rezone. They are back before you for another rezone, however, previously they just asked for R4H, and now on the middle track. Now they are wanting to rezone the entire track along North Lincoln Street for R4H. So again, this property is located on North Lincoln Street. It is vacant and unimproved. It is currently rezoned R1 and C2. They are asking for an R1H, which is high-density multifamily. The property is 9.7 acres approximately in size. It is a portion that was purchased out of a bigger portion of property that was 29 acres in size. Again, they're asking for R4H, high density. They are proposing 11 two-story buildings with 8 dwelling units in each one, and one-story building with 4 dwellings in each. So that brings the total number of dwellings to 92. And with it being 9.7 acres, the density proposed is approximately 9.5 gross density per acre, which is well below the 24 dwelling units that you're allowed for an R4H. They had a couple of staff comments that they have addressed. Other than that, if you have any questions for me, the applicant is here that can speak on this, if you have any questions for them.
Commissioners, have any questions for Laura? You want to say anything? Thanks, Laura. Applicant, if you want to state your name.
Thank you. Bear Davidson with Davidson Engineering on behalf of the applicant. As Laura said, this is a proposed multifamily development along Lincoln Street, part of a larger tract that the southern portion of was sold about a year ago. And so this is the remaining 9.7-ish acres, and got the amount of units proposed is well under the high-density multifamily. It's also lower than the medium-density multifamily, so that zoning would be acceptable to us as well. I think this is more in line with the comprehensive plan for the city. To our west is institutional, with the school obviously to the east is single-family residential. It's on a major thoroughfare, so frontage on a busy street. And I imagine we'll have quite a few folks stand up and speak against this, which is fine. But I think if it's not this arrangement, I'm not sure what can be built here. I mean, single family fronting on a major street along a major thoroughfare doesn't make sense. It's not really a commercial area, nor does that meet with the comprehensive plan. So trying to find a good use for this piece of property, and it seems like a good transition between the single-family residential on the east and the school on the west. Also know that access to that major road was a concern with the last proposal. And so we significantly reduced the density for this proposal, and also taken out any commercial uses which would have high traffic volumes coming in and out. So trying to be cognizant of the previous comments that were made and adjust accordingly to try to find development for this piece of property, which is in an important location in Cabot. So be glad to try to answer any questions if you have any.
I do have a question for Laura, sorry. Got it before I start. The R4H zoning will allow them to do 24 apartments per acre. And these 92 apartments are proposed, correct? So if this is zoned R4H, they can change that proposed to the maximum.
I've got a question. Can you adjust the proposal to the R4M? I mean, that's acceptable to us. We weren't sure how many units would be on each parcel at the time or where we would land on that density, but the intent is that if this was approved, to immediately move forward with the consent of construction drawings for these 92 units. So we're happy with an R4M designation as well.
I think that have to be re-advertised, Laura.
For the record, the city attorney is not able to attend tonight, so via text, so I am asking that question as we speak. If there's other questions, we can answer in about 2 minutes.
All right, fair enough. Any other questions for that?
Bear, right?
Yes, sir.
I admire you coming in here, by the way.
It's not fun. It's probably not the worst one.
Right, yeah. I think, last time, and I don't have the old proposal up, but I believe part of it is going to be commercial,
Yes, sir.
which in my opinion was really going to be a little less traffic because it was storage, right? And one of the biggest problems we were having last time was that the traffic there is just terrible. And to me, I'm thinking you're adding more traffic by putting more units in there. Again, I admire you coming in.
Well,
Is the owner, is he local? He just never comes? He sends you?
he's local. He just couldn't be here tonight.
Okay.
Another meeting. But I do believe this is a good use for this piece of property. I mean, we're trying to reduce the density.
Do you live there?
Well, and,
I'd just like to take questions from the.
yeah, so, I mean, I think it's good use for the property, just not for the traffic where it's at.
And what
and-
comments
Well, one of the comments you said that the residential wouldn't work good there, but every house down the road does. I mean, it sells, it goes up for sale, it's gone pretty quick.
Yeah. We're just concerned with driveway, that the number of driveways that would be required onto the city street. So when I met with Ms. Nobles after the last proposal failed, we talked about access points. And so we adjusted from previously to line up so that we would only have 2 access points and that those would be lined up with the new school driveway. And I'm blanking on the name of the city street on the east end that it lines up with to try to limit any entrance and exit to those 2 access points, which is what we've got shown here. And just the number of, you mentioned commercial, the number of times a residential unit is entered and exit today. I mean, think about you leaving your home, you know, maybe once in the morning, come home in the evening, or maybe double that. Whoa, I think that's got
I don't live in the middle of town.
Oh, yeah, right.
If I did, probably
A
more.
commercial property that has, 10 or 20 customers coming in every hour of the day is more of an impact on the traffic. So we're just trying to propose a use that would have a lower impact, try to restrict those entrance and exit points to the 2 locations Ms. Nobles talked about, and try to reduce the density to an amount that would be agreeable to the city.
And how many units is that?
92. So there's
How many drivers you expect at each one?
Usually for apartments, you accommodate 1.5 parking spaces per unit. So I guess you could do 92 times 1.5, 130-ish drivers.
So 3 times a day, 400, 500, 600 times a day going in and out? Okay.
And this is phase 1. The land, it's too hard to see right here, and I'm getting old, but the land below it is owned by the same people, or
No,
not?
sir, it's not.
Because the roads seem like they're gonna continue on
Right.
to the next phase.
Right, so when this property to the south was sold, it was sold with 2 access easements. But it's not owned by the same person, they're not the same business, they're not associated in any manner.
Again, I admire you coming in here. I'm not trying to make you look bad. I'm just asking questions. You're doing a good job.
Barry, what is the dimensions of the property? How long is that? How deep is that?
That is hard to see up there. I've got it visual here, so I'll be able to answer well, I think. It's 242 feet deep and roughly 1,745 feet from east to west.
And that 242, is that including part of the road right away?
Yeah, so
So you're really more like,
less than that.
yeah, 190 or?
So about the depth of a single family lot, Mr. Lowe, like you said, so we're just concerned about if we were to split that up into a narrow, single family, the number of driveways and access points along North Lincoln, just, it seems dangerous to me. I wouldn't think we would, and then even on the east end, there wouldn't really be access to Lincoln, so they'd have to have some type of common access easement or something, so just trying to restrict access as much as we can to Lincoln and line that up with existing access points.
So let me just interject. So as far as the ground rules go, all comments need to be directed to me as the chair, not to the applicant. There's no sidebar conversations need to go on. So anything, any questions or comments that need to be addressed will come up to the podium and address me. I'll address the applicant to come back up and respond and rebuttal sort of thing. So we got a lot of people here, and I'm sure that everybody is on sort of the same page as far as how they view this project. So I'd like to get maybe a couple of folks, spokespeople, to come up and say a few words. If there's anything anybody left off, feel free to have somebody come up and add to it. I just don't want to drag it after 2 hours for everybody to get a chance to say something. So, if there's any other items you want to add?
No, thank you.
Commissioners, have any other questions for that? Just from my seat, from a design standpoint, I would like to see something that's more of a good neighbor development in terms of it's not just a row of parking lot along the street. I mean, it's a residential area across from it. I could see a PUD or PZD or something, or PCD that's submitted that has much more of a customized design approach that is complementary to the R1s, and whether that is a combination of residential, single-family residential, and multifamily mixed in, so that it feels like it's a consistent neighborhood. Like as you drive down Lincoln, you feel like you're in a neighborhood. You know, you see greenery, you see houses, you see a one-story, two-story, whatever, and whatever more dense the structures are, I could see that back behind it, you know, so that you've got almost a buffer between the residential. I'm not painting a clear picture, but I'm just telling you what, I could see a PUD probably being a real handy thing to design towards, to create something that's custom and that's friendly to the neighborhood that's existing, and still tries to provide some, you know, much needed, dwelling structure. So that's my comments from an architect. So let's take that offline. But I'm not a voting member. These guys are, so I'm just giving you my 2 cents.
I think we'll hear a lot of negative feedback tonight, and I hope we can, the consideration tonight would be, is this an appropriate use for this location? And if the question is yes, then have we done enough to restrict access to make it safe? And if the answer is yes, I hope it will be rezoned successfully. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I just want to remind everyone that this is a rezoning, it's not a site plan approval. So we're not approving that layout. All we're doing is approving the rezoning from R1 and C to R4H. So that's just a reminder. All right, so those that want to speak against this item, if you want to come up, we'll give you 3 minutes, if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
Laura, you got the timer? She'll have the hook.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Mark Levinsky, and I live in Shiloh. To begin, I'd like to say I am in favor of progress and change. However, both need to make sense and not be detrimental to something or someone unless it is determined to be equal or greater good. We discussed progress and change in July as this property was presented as 3 tracks, 4 separate approvals. And focusing specifically on track 2 from July, it was determined at that time that building R4H apartments was not the right project to approve for this area of Cabot. A unanimous vote of no was reached after hearing input from many residents of the areas surrounding the proposed build site. The input addressed concerns related to traffic and pedestrian safety on an already congested roadway with no sidewalks, new ingress and egress points on a blind hill and curve, negative impact on R1 property values, increased crime associated with high-density transient housing, shifting of natural springs due to hydraulic pressure associated with large foundations, new and/or greater stormwater runoff to the neighboring properties immediately downhill, loss of green space, increased natural cooling and sound absorption, displacement of an unknown number of wildlife species, and finally, an impact on emergency service response times during morning and afternoon congestion. Keeping this previous vote of no in mind for only 40 apartments developed as R4H, it is difficult for me to see how increasing the total number of apartments to 92 resolves any of the concerns mentioned, and further causes me to believe it should be impossible for this commission to arrive at no outcome other than subsequent disapproval. In closing, I am against this development and respectfully encourage you to vote no.
Thank you, Mark. State your name, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Amanda Levinsky, and I live in Shiloh. We're against the rezone request for R4H on all 3 tracks on North Lincoln. The request is for transient use, which is 100% in contrast with mature established neighbors immediately adjacent to and extending well beyond the build sites. The request for the rezone brings up many concerns, such as increase of crime, loss of privacy, property devaluation, traffic issues, air noise and light pollution, loss of open space, wildlife displacement, and environmental changes. To begin, the planned apartments in tract 3 will be less than 40 feet from the corner of our property, creating a loss of privacy due to line of sight from an elevated position of a 2-story apartment with balconies. There is no fence allowable for either apartments or surrounding properties tall enough to ensure privacy, as well as added light pollution from the high-density housing, high-watt security lighting, and noise pollution from the HVAC systems for the 48 of the 92 units closest to our property. Cabot's UDC indicates changes in zoning should not generate noise or light greater than anything already in existence at adjacent zones. And the current adjacent zones are single-family residential homes, forests, and fields. The UDC Residential Part 4 also states R1 is designed to preserve openness of the area and avoid overcrowding. In addition, a zone change to R4H is not consistent with surrounding current use, which is predominantly developed as R1. For example, Shiloh is approximately 180 homes, only 2 of which are rentals, thus showing long-term use versus transients who hold no vested interest in long-term value of the surrounding area. For Arkansas Senate Bill 594 from November of 2021, a landlord can rent as is, meaning the landlord is not required to provide maintenance to the dwelling once the lease is signed beyond basic necessities, with one simply being a functioning roof and building envelope. Very little protects the home value for the neighbors. Also, the increase of any traffic on North Lincoln is a concern, as our neighborhood is already heavily traveled. Daily, our streets are used as a cut-through. We have issues with speeding vehicles, property damage and theft, congestion, and pedestrian safety already. In closing, we respectfully encourage a no to this zone. Thank you.
Evening, Commissioners. I'm Phil Robinson. I also live in Shiloh. I've been in Cabot for the better part of my adult life and have seen a lot of coming of new businesses, new structures, new things happening all over Cabot, most of which I'm in favor of and enjoy now having been here. Going back to the time when there was not a Walmart in Cabot. When I moved here, there was not even a Walmart. Now we're on our 3rd one since then. So that's the perspective I come from in seeing all of this. First, I want us to take a little bit of exception with the reference to the street as a major thoroughfare. We're talking about a 2-lane, 25-mile-an-hour residential area. We're not talking about a 50-mile-an-hour main thoroughfare like 321 or like Pine Street coming up here, or 2nd Street. We're talking about a 2-lane, 25-mile-an-hour residential street. I do want to, however, acknowledge the fact that the owner and the potential developer have seen that residential is probably the right use for that property there. I agree with that. I think residential is certainly the right spot. That fits in with the city's master plans and development plans and the way the city is in that area already anyway. I do have a little bit of a problem, though, with the high-density part of it. And we mentioned that already, but here's some of the things that concern me with that. The city and the school have worked jointly on several projects whose goal, or the goal of which have been to reduce the traffic in that area. The school is currently working on the 2nd of a serpentine approach to the schools to get traffic off of Lincoln. The city put in, and the school worked together to put in the traffic circles along there to move traffic more smoothly through there. The high traffic that's added to this and the speed of the traffic that's going down there, disregarding the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, has made it a little bit hazardous at high traffic times as it is without any additional traffic. And I realize you've already talked about that, but I want to give you my perspective on that as well. High traffic times through Shiloh, especially on Shenandoah Way, where people are avoiding that traffic and coming through Shenandoah Way, right through that area at speeds that are not residential speeds. Our law enforcement partners here have been unable to enforce that effectively because there's just so much of it. People are coming through there and making a shortcut because of the speed bumps and speed table that was put in there. Again, another effort to slow things down. All right, I hear you. I'll move on. Get the hook. For those reasons, I know there's gonna be some more, for those reasons, I likewise do not support the high density, although I do support residential use of some sort. And I'm glad you made those offerings and possibilities. Thank you.
All right, so there's been several items that have been repeated now, traffic concerns and things like that. So instead of repeating every time, if there's anything new, we'd love to hear it. But just by repeating the same thing, we can probably, I can just everybody raise their hand here in favor for, all those things, so.
Just to be fair, the traffic concerns I mentioned talked about the things that have been done to alleviate the traffic concerns, not the traffic concerns.
That's right.
Well, unlike the traffic that you just mentioned, the concerns about having too many home driveways versus two apartment driveways versus a dozen home driveways, it's like complaining about little veins versus main arteries. Two apartment driveways coming out there is going to be a much more dangerous issue than a whole bunch of individual home driveways coming out of there. Because Eric Park, and I live on Gum Street for 30 years. And commercial, albeit I'm highly against commercial, would have been much less traffic issue than high-density apartments, because the traffic for commercial would be in the middle of the day. If you live over there, the traffic issues are for an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening. That's when it's dangerous. And the schools worked really hard to fix that. Exit 21 has made a big difference, because I also agree that is not a major thoroughfare. It's a 25-mile-an-hour road. Putting in that, we already also have people that cut through Gum Street in Campbell trying to sidestep around the big speed bump coming down our street with little tiny speed bumps. And they come fast, because they figured out the faster you hit those speed bumps, the less they affect you. You put driveways around that area, it's just going to even do more. It's just going to funnel even more down that road. There are a number of issues. If you want to make it easier, I notice you record it. Just go back and look at the one from a couple months ago, look at the one from a couple of years ago, when it was just apartment complexes, no commercial at that point. And you know as well as I do, if they approve this for high density, everything else behind it eventually will be done the same way. Because it's more valuable per acre in a high density format than a single residence. It needs to stay single residence. This is an industrial park, this part of town. The industry there is the school system and homes. It needs to be maintained that way for a variety of reasons. And high density breaks every concept of that area. And it's dangerous, and it's not what should be there. That's coming in after the fact and changing the rules of the game on everybody that moved there already. And it's just not equipped for it, unless you turn that road into a high flow area, which would just be devastating. You'd have to take easement away from everybody. I'd just like to say again that I appreciate you guys being here. I love seeing y'all. I hate seeing you as often as I do. It would be nice if we don't have to keep doing this every couple of months. Thank you very much.
I wasn't planning to speak. I'm Denise Robinson. I too live in Shiloh. The point that I wanted to ask for some clarity on, please, is it was my understanding when we met in July that the individual that's proposing this, that's asking for this, is actually not a resident of Cabot. They are an investor that lives in North Little Rock or Sherwood. I just want some clarity on that, because that was my understanding back in July. Whereas all these folks here are residents, and I know you understand that. And you're serving the city, the greater good of the city, but you're also serving the residents over an investor that might come in with not the best of intentions necessarily. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm John Bloomberg. I'm a resident of Shiloh, 25 Shiloh South. And I had some notes, but I tried to take out the traffic concerns. I thank the members of the Planning Commission for hearing out our rowdy bunch tonight, because we are pretty rowdy. But I'm here to express my strong opposition to the proposed zoning variance to change our peaceful Shiloh subdivision. And as a dedicated member of the Cabot community, and I'm a real estate agent, principal broker at a real estate company here in Cabot, I firmly believe this change would have negative effects on our neighborhood, besides the obvious traffic and safety problems that we've talked about. But our community in Shiloh has thrived due to its safe and serene environment through the years. I've lived there 20 years. It's been a great place to live. It's an ideal place for families, including those associated with our schools. A lot of teachers and people that have kids in school live there. I believe the variance would, and this is the real estate agent in me, but I believe the variance would lead to a decline in property values. That's something I heard a few people hit on, but I believe it would definitely lead to a decline in property values to existing homeowners in Shiloh. And as someone deeply invested in the real estate market, I understand the importance of maintaining property values for homeowners. This change would undoubtedly have a negative financial impact on the community, on our community members. So I urge the Planning Commission to consider the long-term consequences of the decision tonight, not only for the residents of Shiloh, but for the entire Cabot community. Preserving the residential character of our neighborhood is essential to our safety, well-being, and property values. So, thank you for your attention to this matter, and I trust that you will make a decision that upholds the best interest of not only Shiloh, but the community. Thank you, Johnny.
Hi, I'm Shelby Glover. I live on Blake Drive. My husband and I, when we first purchased our home, we were really excited because our son would be going toward East Side. He is 10 months old now, and I'm starting to get a little bit concerned. We have a new Rosh Coleman subdivision that just popped up at the end of East Main, so outside of city limits, but with the presence of another multifamily structure this close to what would be zone 4 East Side and Middle School North and Junior High North. I'm a little concerned about my son's spot at the elementary schools. I know previously, if there is not space for a student who is zoned for a school, they will bus them to a different school, which I don't believe is, not something that I would like for my family, but I think with the presence of more multifamily homes like this, it would cause a little bit of a strain. Thank you.
Anyone else have anything to add to the conversation?
Can I just ask a question?
Yes.
Looking at that map up there, what are those, I guess, the future apartments or whatever's in question? Is that the curve in 38?
Yeah. No, it's North Lincoln.
Oh, I'm sorry, North Lincoln, I get it. But there's a field right there on the right-hand side that's been there forever, okay? When I see that, you're talking about families, that's plural for family, members in the family. Kids. Where the kids gonna play?
Yeah, you need to come to the microphone now.
I'm at lunch.
It's okay, yeah, it's all right, just let it go. Yeah, let's go. Go ahead and make your motion. Make your motion. Do it now.
Wasn't someone playing in our property a couple weeks ago?
My wife's over there. She's my commander. I'm ex-military like the chief here, and some of the things that we see right off the bat are safety concerns. It's not really a dollar, it's just a safety concern. A lot of kids right there, more kids. Young families, that's going to be attractive to them.
Mm-hmm.
Where are the kids going to play? It's just young children in the area. I would like to propose something though about the single-story family. What about retirement? A few retirement homes in there. Keep it nice, look good. I like retiring. I live in just a thought. I mean, I get.
Where are you guys gonna play?
He's got a fair question.
on Shiloh as well, Shiloh subdivision. I just want to ask, how many of you live on the Shiloh subdivision or in that area? That's a rhetorical question, you don't have to answer that. But that, you just said, it's a big safety concern. The other thing, I look at all of your nameplates and they say Planning Commission. Can you guys plan something for that area other than this high-density stuff? Planning, to me, is planning something. It seems to be like you guys are being kind of reactive. You wait for somebody to ask for something or somebody's going to sell something. Can you guys plan something for that? Maybe the city of Cabot can get together. Maybe this isn't the forum for that. Maybe I need to go to the city council or something like that. But it seems to me like the Planning Commission should plan something that is advantage to the community and the high school and the city, other than waiting for somebody to come in to do this, and every couple of months we have to respond to this. That's all I gotta say. You're planning commissioners, so plan.
So Tony, just to clarify too, we are a board that reacts to what is brought into us.
Okay.
That is the purpose of the Planning Commission. We do provide oversight to make sure that it is meeting zoning and UDC code and criteria. That's what.
But who sets those codes? Who sets all those zoning codes?
Yeah, we set the zoning. Now, as far as the actual submittal of the design and the proposed use, that's always market driven. I mean, we can master plan things about what we'd love to see here and there, but all we can impact is the zoning of it, the actual use. And that's reflected on our master plan that's on the city website.
And that's been there for 20 years, 30 years?
It's been there forever, yeah.
Right. So let's plan for it and move on. Let's just don't keep doing this every couple of months. So, when we all bought, that was what was there, so.
Yeah, one more?
Yes, sir. I'd like consideration to leave the land alone. We're building all over Cabot. I preached this last time. I'm a Tree City person. I'd like to see a natural area. I don't understand all the engineering behind the water issues if we built there. But our houses are flooding now. And Cabot's already said they're not going to help us with that area flooding every spring. I hear and I don't understand, but if we put this kind of stuff here, we're going to have more flooding in our area. Can we keep it a natural area? Can we even develop it as a natural area? I'd be willing to put wildflower seeds right in that section that's in there. I will. I have some ordered down. Can we have some natural areas here? That's what I'm interested in. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna allow one more. And then we're gonna cut it off and we'll go back to the applicant for any response, and then we're gonna talk this committee.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Carol Owens. I live in Shiloh. I built there in 2005. Business owner, helped do cabinets in that place from 1996 until the development was complete. Our neighborhood is a very good community. We all get along. It's great. We all understand the problems that will come with something of this nature. They say 1.5 vehicles per person. We all know rationally there are going to be at least 2 vehicles. Most homes have two vehicles. And while the traffic has been kind of covered, we obviously know there's going to be major issues with traffic, and it already is, even while they're trying to develop new things to alleviate that. This would just make it that much worse. 92 times 2 vehicles plus kids. As they brought up, you need areas for kids to play. I mean, there's nowhere for them to play in that kind of development. With that being said, while apartment complexes and stuff are great when they first open, we all know what happens to them 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. They get run down. They tend to have lower income people. Not against lower income people. They tend to get trashy, and this is more not about lower income people, but about the development itself and what it will bring to our neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods as far as crime, trash, debris. Just like I said, you've got issues with water. I strongly oppose this development. I'm not sure what can happen with it. I admire the guy for showing up as well, as somebody that's been in contracting and builder for 27 years now. I've owned business for 25 of those. I fully understand needing to develop. I understand what it will do for the city as far as what it will bring in, income, taxes, revenue for you guys to do more stuff, the city can do more stuff with what that would do. This is just not the right area. I hate that they bought the money, spent the money and bought this, and they keep trying, but this is not the area for something of this nature. I'm not sure what you can do with it, I'm not sure what they could do with it. Residential would be amazing if they could just develop it, but I know that's not going to bring the money in that something like this would. So, that being said, I oppose it. I've got neighbors that could not make it that also oppose it. If I'm not here, they'll be here. We will keep doing this. We will keep battling as long as necessary. So, again, I appreciate that.
Show of hands, everyone who is opposing this, I just want to see. Kind of separate the audience.
Building behind Freddy's.
Mr. Davidson, do you think that you want to respond back to it as far as comments?
Come on.
I guess, just to clarify a few things, I did reference that as a major thoroughfare, and I wasn't speaking about the level of service of the road, it was about the amount of traffic that's currently on the road, and the reason for trying to restrict access points. But I mean, you know, we try to listen to the comments at previous meetings, reduce density from what was shown previously, and I think this is a good use for the property. So I'm sitting here listening to all the comments, and I'm kind of racking my brain about what, you know, if not this, what can go there that would be a lower impact and have less of a negative impact on traffic. I still feel strongly that, you know, driveway after driveway on that road would be a dangerous scenario. And so if we can't do that, but we want to stick with residential, we've got to find a means. We've got to produce some type of plan that is residential but restricts access points. And so this, you know, and it was again and again referred to as high density, but in fact it's 9 dwelling units per acre, which is well under the threshold for even medium density zoning. So that's all, I guess. Unless there's any other questions.
So one comment that I have is, and I'll let the commission can vote, and we'll see which way it goes. But one thing I wanted to throw out was, would you be willing to withdraw the submittal and consider some type of planned unit development, of PUD, and as the applicants were talking, or the folks were talking, I was sketching out some ideas. Tell me I do plan. Just in terms of trying to create some type of development that is sympathetic, that relates well to the existing neighborhoods of R1, but also helps provide some additional density so that it is
sort of an unfiltered thought, but just in response to your question, just my gut reaction is I think we would, but my concern is, as you know, a PD requires substantially more front-end cost as far as design just to get to this point, as far as, and so, there's been some mixed response tonight, some folks just against residential, some folks against commercial, but a good a group that is opposed to anything there at all. So that would be substantial design costs prior to even getting to this point, just to meet the PD checklist. There's the potential that it would be voted down just because there's such a negative.
Yeah, Laura and I were actually talking about this, the PUD process, and actually what it takes to get to that. And we're talking about trying to update the ordinance so that it is more of a preliminary sketch plan that's presented, so you don't have so much front-end engineering and architectural costs, that it's fully designed.
Well, based on just the current, and I appreciate that, but based on those current requirements for PD, I can't say for sure for my clients and I if that would, if he'd be inclined to do that or not. It seems like a risky thing to do, to put that money towards meeting the current requirements for a PD with a chance that, it's voted down based on negative comments from neighbors. So I appreciate the comment. I'm not arguing with you, just that was my initial thought to that question.
Yeah, I'd recommend that if you did go down that route to develop a PUD or some type of development like that, that the next step would be meet with their POA and get input. It may be all on the board, but at least you engage the neighborhood, get their input, and try to come back to the planning commission. I just think that streamline the process for moving something forward.
Thank you.
I kind of like the guy's idea about the senior retirement, kind of like at Hampton, because a lot of times when you get in those age group, you're talking about widows, and you're talking about only one vehicle, and, not any children, not as many children. I know it's down from a school, but I think that would definitely limit the traffic much less.
That's not our responsibility then.
My concern is, yes, and we've seen this in the past, when you go to a zone, to a rezone like this, and you zone it to the highest density, to a, R4H, even on your drawing, it says it's a proposed and subject to change. So they could change their mind once we approve this to an R4H and go to 24 apartments per acre. That increases, and I understand what you're saying, but I've seen it happen in the past. People change their mind, and we have to stick to that zoning once we approve it.
Right. And this is not a negative comment, this is positive. Based on my experience with Ms. Nobles, if y'all rezone and I said anything with any density over what we had submitted, she's gonna send it back to me if they try again. So, and that's not a negative, I'm just saying, this is in fact our plan to move forward with if we're successful rezone.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you want us to proceed with the vote?
Yes, sir.
All right, it is 7:52. I am going to close the public hearing. And Commissioners, I entertain a motion.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. We still have one more public hearing after this.
I'll reopen the public. I'll close the public comment. All right, Commissioner?
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion to approve, Commissioner Lowe, and a second from Commissioner Prater. Roll call vote, please.
Lowe?
No.
Prater?
No.
Byrd?
No.
O'Gwen?
No.
Ward?
No.
Knapp?
No.
All right, 6-0, the motion does not pass.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. If y'all want to.
Can we leave?
Yeah, you go.
Yeah, let's make them stay. Yeah, I think that's
Maybe that's the portion he's so off, and that's why it's granted.
But I wanted to say, it's not our job to please the community. It's also not our job to make sure he has the most value of his land. I got land too. I think that's not our job. If you don't like it, let it go back to Texas.
You do your homework before you buy it. You don't spend 5 days thinking I can get away with it when it doesn't match what I want to do. All of St. John and Bel Air came in. We didn't have to approve anything other than close. You can't stop it. The time to do that's over.
So they just need to understand, like the engineer saying, we need to decide. Like, we don't need to decide. You need to decide. It ain't our job to figure it out for you.
This one is probably from California. It's already been converted to kids and
Yeah.
pretty sure Manny sold that.
She's probably, she's a conservative from California.
Part of Lot 1, the Dwelling Storage Edition, which is located at 1705 North 2nd Street. McClellan Holdings currently owns this property, Doug and Wendy McClellan. They have already built some self-storage buildings on the property, They are coming before you for a rezone because they are wanting to expand their self-storage to what they've already built south and a little bit to the southwest of what they've already currently built. And again, since it is currently only zone C2, in order for them to expand their self-storage, they do have to have it rezoned to industrial for them. They are wanting to keep the front parcel across the South 2nd Street as commercial, so that they want to build some office buildings along that, so they're going to keep that as commercial. If you got any other questions for me, I can answer them. The owner as well as the applicant are here to address anything that y'all may have concerns on.
All right, thank you, Laura. Mr. Robinson?
Yes, sir. So, yes, this is currently zoned C2, and we are asking to rezone the actual part of the existing mini storages. So it's kind of an L shape to wrap around, so it would encompass, would bring that part of the property into the current zoning that's required under your UDC, and then the back part to industrial as well to expand the mini storage. The front is being kept as C2, kind of give it that buffer from the highway so you don't see all the mini storages from the highway. So we thought that would be a good use. If you have any questions, I'll entertain. And the owner is here if you got any questions for him.
Any questions, Commissioners? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone here to speak against this?
Not to speak against it, but Phil Robinson just had a question. I don't remember what surrounds that whole area, what's around that. I know where it is, but in my mind, I can't.
Aaron, you'll know.
Yeah, so to the south is the railroad. Kind of to the northeast, that's actually the industrial park. So that's where the National Guard is, that's where several industries are. Then across the road is residential.
All right, seeing no other opposition, Commissioner, have any questions? I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Byrd. Go a second.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Lowe. A roll call vote, please, Aaron.
Byrd,
Yes.
O'Gwen,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes. All right, 6-0, the motion does pass.
Thank you.
All right, it is 7:58, and I will close the public hearing this time, once and for all. And we'll roll into Planning Commission new business. Aaron, if I may.
Final plat, Lot 1, Higginbotham Estates, Bond Engineers.
Laura?
Okay, this is a final plat for a one-lot subdivision that is located on Kerr Station. It is just north of Earnhardt Circle. The property is owned by Tim Higginbotham. Mr. Robinson is representing him. It is unimproved. It's currently zoned R1, and they are proposing it to be a single-family residential home property. It is right at 1 acre in size. There are only just a couple outstanding items that were in the staff report. That again, it just has to do with a floodplain development permit, and then supplying a deed, and then certifications if this final plat is approved. So all other comments by the applicant have been addressed.
Commissioners, have any questions? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to approve the final plat. Motion to approve. Got a motion from Commissioner Prater. For a second?
Second.
Second. Commissioner Byrd, roll call vote, please, Aaron.
Prater,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
O'Gwen,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
All right, 6-0, the final plat is approved. Next item on the agenda, Aaron.
Final plat, Lot 1, Raoul Estates, Bond Engineers.
Laura?
Okay, again, this is gonna be just simply, just like what y'all saw, it's another final plat for, a one-lot, single-family, subdivision, except for this property is located in the Greystone subdivision along, it will have access on Greystone Boulevard. It is a 4-acre tract in size. This particular lot will, have to do some, more improvements than, a typical, final plat lot 1 would have to do. Since it is surrounded by an existing subdivision, they will have to do house street improvements along Greystone, which involves curb and gutter, sidewalks. So there are a couple outstanding items that need to still be addressed in the staff report, but they are minor items that we can address with the engineer.
Thank you, Laura. Mr. Robinson? What is the use of this?
They want to build a house.
At the very back of it?
No, it's going to be off of that little cul-de-sac, half cul-de-sac right there.
They just have a super long, narrow backyard that turns, dog legs, right?
Correct.
And they're gonna put curb and gutter and sidewalks all around that.
So, well, no, so what they'll do, yeah, it'll be around that cul-de-sac, and then it'll go down towards Wildwood.
No, it's towards Magnus Creek on the other, on the, on that
Yeah.
side.
No. I
Yeah.
can't think of the subdivision off the top of my head.
It's a Greystone and then,
It's before you get to Algonquin.
Oh, well, what neighborhood?
yeah, that's Greystone Boulevard.
That's it.
That was proposed to be a road years ago.
That was the road they cut the golf course in, and then
Yeah.
certain HOA president bought it and sold off small
Well,
parcels.
He bought it and blocked it off so they couldn't make a road years ago. So just in that right corner in Greystone Boulevard.
We've dealt with this before, but one house subdivision, they didn't have to put in curb gutter sidewalks and all.
But we've changed.
We do now have regulations that require that they will be required to put curb and gutter and sidewalks along Greystone Boulevard.
Anything else you want to add there?
No.
Commissioners? I entertain a motion. This is not a public hearing, but just please come up and state your name.
Okay, I'm Bill O'Brien. I live in Greystone. I got the final plat that was done back in 1995 or 6. That was never intended to be a lot. That was never intended to be an access point anywhere in Greystone. That was used to, when they built the golf courses, they used a road there. So why do we let it be part of Greystone and build a house? It was never intended to be. So you need to redo the plat if you're going to let a house be built there. That's not a one-house subdivision. That is part of Greystone, but it is common ground. It is not considered a buildable lot. So it can't be a one-house subdivision. It's part of Greystone. So I don't know how you deal with that. So we can't call it a one-house subdivision.
Was that platted as tract property? Was there any restrictions on that property?
It is not shown to be a road on here. There's one.
Maybe I should have said 2 classes, but I don't understand why we can't.
And all the people that live behind those, Jim Knack used to live in one of those houses. We bought that.
I bought it behind there when they were parceling
You
the
sure
little chunks.
did, yeah, but it was considered to never be built on or anything.
What did you say your name was?
Bill O'Brien.
Part of your fault. Could have just had a road there. We could have hit Highway 5.
So, Jim, did you buy the whole thing? Can it even go as far as that? Your house wasn't.
Mine was to the left of it where Hickory Valley cuts up in Hickory Bend. I lived on Hickory Bend. And I bought basically to the red line within the width of my property. So it extended and replatted to be one lot.
Okay. Here's the original plat, and this is for the whole 2,000 acres of Greystone. I mean, all the land that you own has already been brought into city limits and got subdivisions platted on.
And the golf course.
If you do something different.
Got a golf course too, right?
It does, it has a 9-hole, par 3 golf course on it, sure does.
Do we go down there and look? Can we go look?
And I had to have it replanted, even though it's the exact same drawing, the setbacks were different. But this, the whole subdivision, you'll see it.
I do. Yeah.
It's a whole 2,000 acres that was brought into the city limits of the platted subdivision. Hang on.
I should have showed up later.
Just let me look at it. Almost right here. Right here.
The city was wanting to put a road in there.
And you see, this has all got curves and gutters, that does not.
It was master plan.
A temporary aspect. It is within the boundaries of Grayson. Yes, sir, it is. Right here is what we're talking about. That's a 90 return.
But at some point.
And I'm not saying don't do it, but let's get curbs and gutters. And when we got a house down here that was brought in as commercial, it didn't have curbs and gutters.
That's the code.
What's that?
That's the code.
Yeah, we got one down there that doesn't have it.
But the code's been changed since then.
But what about the POA? They're gonna raise a cane, got another house up that doesn't join the POA. I saw the sign for variance.
I don't see how they're going to have to setbacks for them to build a house in there. There's nothing, they're going to put a house back there. You said you'll put it in here. Nobody said. Nobody said there's enough room. Well, it's not a one house subdivision. Well, they'll come in this side. Can't be.
All right, so let's move on. Thank you, Bill, for your comments. Commissioners have any questions?
I'd like to see what Aaron had to say on that.
I mean, I've got the same master plan in my office for Greystone. You know, we did Georgetown, the signature, Stone Ridge, all of those. Those were all cut up into pieces that Charles George back in the day bought, or Bill Minton, Jack King, they bought those and developed them. Bob Tassler owns a piece of property over there. And when we did those, we followed the outline of the boundaries that were sold that were not incorporated into the golf course itself. Did we follow the master plan? No, because they sold the tracts, they sold the property, and it was developed the way that the landowner wanted to develop it, not the way Greystone intended for it to be developed. This is a piece of property that a person owns, wants to build a house. It's in the Greystone boundaries within the city limits. So I don't know what the concern is. I feel like the concern is, and I'm just being hypothetical here, is Greystone has its own POA and architectural review committee. And I guess hypothetically, the concern is this wouldn't fall under that umbrella.
So it wouldn't fall underneath the bill of assurance for Greystone?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Well, not unless the whoever's putting in the subdivision allows it to. And that was going to be my next question, because I know that's going to come up, because I'm, on the Facebook pages, that I wonder if the owner would be willing to do that.
Be willing
to submit to the POA.
Yeah, submit it to and pay their $185 a year.
That I cannot answer at this moment. I can figure out.
Is the existing property owner the original property owner?
No.
When this was sold, whoever originally owned this particular strip has sold it to this current property owner?
Correct.
So evidently, at some point, he had the rights to sell this property. And I'm assuming we're calling it a one-lot subdivision because this 4 acres has been platted into one lot, even though it's larger than some of the lots in Greystone. We're just calling it a one-lot subdivision because it's just one lot. It's not individual lots. So at one point, was this whole section one lot, or was it multiple lots?
It was never a lot, it was a tract of land. But this one lot subdivision will also clean up part of the Greystone right-of-way issues. There's a little bit of right-of-way issue in that area, and so you'll see that we're platting some right-of-way in there to clean up the Greystone right-of-way.
So tract landowners don't pay anything to the POA, there's no involvement like that. They're not under any type of regulation to the POA.
I can't answer that. I don't know.
Developers, normally not until they build a house. Yeah, then the house gets built and sold to the end user.
I guess we only have one example of anything like this, and it didn't go the way that they're intending to do it now. Is that a fair statement? The 5-acre commercial that was converted to a single neighborhood. But we've changed the rules for street improvements. But I guess that would be the question. What's the POA say about it?
So,
because certain parts are voluntary to be a part of the POA, depending on when they were built.
What would your setbacks be? Are they set here, or are they set by a code? Or?
UDC.
The setbacks are set by the UDC.
Okay, so how are they gonna fit what you're trying to do here? How much width do you have?
I want to say most, the yellow sliver behind the house is probably like a 1/4 acre. I guess it varies on what part of Hickory Bend it reaches.
You see the houses down below that.
Yeah, you got-
Fit one of those.
if you do it right off the cul-de-sac, that looks
So
like
you
there'd be
got
plenty of room.
25 foot off the radius, right?
It'll be tight.
And then 8 foot off the sidelines.
You're dedicating the street right away off that blue line there too, so it's gonna push you back.
Oh, he is? That's what that is?
Yep.
Okay.
If you look,
At least one lot.
Mm-hmm.
so this is where he wants to build the house. So you got the right-of-way dedication here and here, and so the house would be sitting right there. This would all remain wooded.
So just guessing, you have maybe.
Well, this is 80 feet. This is 80 feet there, so you got about 100 feet.
100 in the front and 80 in the back, or something like that. Okay.
I'm not sure, Laura, we have any say in the POA issue anyway. As long as it meets the UDC code requirements, that's all.
So the surrounding houses had a minimum square footage of, say, 2,200 square feet. This one will not, and it adjoins right adjacent to every house on that street. Is that a fair statement or question?
Can I make one more comment? I'm not here against building a house on that lot. I'm against here building a house that's not part of the POA and Greystone. We've already got a disaster out there, when one shouldn't have been built, but it was. But I'm here to make sure that stops, and if that's part of Greystone, then he's got to be part of the subdivision, and
That's where we don't have any.
we don't have any say-so, so you shouldn't approve it until it is part of the subdivision.
We can approve it based on the UDC, the codes we have in place. The POA, I think that's a POA issue.
Okay. But the codes are, how big a house are you gonna build? You gonna build a 300 square foot, or a 10,000, or a 20-story, or a 1? Is it gonna be a shack? Is it gonna be there's gotta be something with the bill of assurance to protect everybody. That's what I'm referring to. So I don't think you should approve it until you've got those assurances. And if you got them, then approve it. Let him build a house. I'm not against it.
I think, Bill,
Insurance is, it's not gonna be a mobile home put there.
I think what he's saying though is it should have been put in, I mean, it wasn't put in the subdivision when Greystone was built, right? So we don't, as planning commission, we don't have a say in that. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. We hope the guy makes the right decision, but I don't think,
We can't police.
We don't have a-
The bill of assurance of Greystone. Greystone has to police its own bill of assurance.
But they're not gonna be a party to the bill of assurance because they're making.
Yeah,
it as a-
that's what he's saying. They won't have it.
So you're saying it's a one house subdivision, which it should not be. Because it's in the boundaries of Greystone, and that was brought in as an entire subdivision, 2,000 acres. That's what I'm getting at. I'm not against building a house, but we've got to have some protections. And so until we can get those, you don't need to approve it.
It was a 10-acre tract. It went the full length of Hickory Bend and accessed
Putter Lane.
on Jehovah Jeremiah or something.
Jehovah Jireh, yeah, Jehovah Jireh, yeah.
So that
Highway
road
5.
cut through, so you would not have to go through Greystone Boulevard to bring heavy equipment in to put the golf courses. So it was owned by the original developer at some point because they had access to it, and then the whole thing was sold and then parceled off. The road was parceled off essentially. This is what's left of the road, which isn't a road on the maps.
I think the PLA ought to write a letter to this owner and say, you need to get into the PLA.
I mean, this is the first thing anybody out there's heard about.
I bet he'd jump right on that.
He called me and asked me to come, because I busted him so much about the other things that's happened. And he's my friend, but I may not be out there tonight, but, you know, so I mean, let's not approve it until we get some assurances. I mean, it's no different than the people that just lived here. You know?
Aaron, would there be a chance of tabling it and talking with the,
So to be honest, I don't know what his timetable is. If it makes you all feel better and the Greystone people feel better, then I would say let's go ahead and table it until next month, and then I will try to get answers about square footage, material, if he wants to be a part of the POA.
yeah, I don't think that's any of our business. Just be nice to keep the community, all working together,
I mean,
but.
I mean, it's either you accept it like this, or you're right, I mean, I can try to get some answers for you, but you still can't police it.
Right.
I mean, we could approve it with contingency of getting POA approval.
What if it doesn't get approval?
Look, it meets the guidelines.
Maybe they give him some incentive to, hey, I've got approval, I just need to get in POA.
It seems far-fetched that you'd put in curb and gutter and sidewalk to put a barnuminium or a double-wide trailer.
Yeah, I
But
mean-
it doesn't mean that they wouldn't do it. Because it wasn't that expensive when I purchased it, and I don't know what he purchased it for.
And I don't have any idea.
Quite a bit, I do believe.
Like, the street would be a great improvement from what's there, and people would quit parking there because there'd be someone's house, but there's no telling if it's gonna blend with the neighborhood.
Laura, do you see any issues with that? Approval with the contingency that they seek POA approval?
I don't know if I can answer that question, because the POA is separate. This is a tract of land that it could be on the backside of Greystone. Granted, if all this property was brought in at one time, it was not platted as an entire subdivision. The boundary of that subdivision on that master plan was not platted as one subdivision. This is a tract of land that is separate. That's why it's being proposed as a one-lot subdivision, because it's not part of any existing subdivision right now. For them to get a building permit, he has to be part of a subdivision. I don't have any jurisdiction over a POA. I can't answer that question.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way we can do that. That's separate.
Regulations for him to be a part of a POA. Again, he is a one-lot subdivision of his own. This is a meets and bounds description that is being turned into a one-lot subdivision.
So Aaron, you think we can table this and let you find some more information out?
So if the only thing that they have is a meets and bounds description, rather than lot 121 of such and such street, Greystone subdivision,
you cannot get a building permit. You have to
So-
be in a platted
Yeah, I
subdivision.
understand, but originally, if this is meets and bounds, then it probably wasn't part of Greystone.
No, it wasn't, no.
It was not platted in the Greystone plat, yes.
Can it be absorbed into the Hickory Bend area?
In order for that to happen, a replat of the Hickory Bend subdivision would have to
He's not
happen.
allowed.
Every neighborhood, every resident of that subdivision would have to approve the final plat. They would have to literally have a signature on the final plat for that tract to be within that subdivision.
So let me throw this curveball, I guess. Let's say he says, no, I don't want to be part of the POA. Do you say, okay, I don't approve it? I mean, you don't really have a say-so whether he says he wants to be part of it or not. I mean, this is I mean, I'm trying to get you answers, but I don't know, by me bringing any more information, I mean, it might sway you both one way or another, but really, truly, I mean, you don't have any purview over whether or not he's part of the POA, not part of the POA, whether he builds out of stone or out of metal.
Not to waste any more time, because I know these guys are waiting, or wanting to go, but just a little history behind it. This was supposed to be dedicated to, the city was trying to get this 8 or 9 or 10 years ago to have a road straight to the new fire department out there on Highway 5, to be able to access Greystone quickly. One of the owners there teamed up with another guy, outsmarted them, bought the land, and sectioned it off so that the city could not do that. Then that gentleman that owned the rest of it moved off, sold it to this guy in hopes that he could build a house on it. So that's the history behind it, FYI. And I move to approve.
Move to approve. Got a motion from Commissioner Ward. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Lowe. Roll call vote, please.
Lowe,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Knapp,
No.
Prater,
No.
Bird,
Yes.
Ogwen,
No. Is that what you got? I'm gonna say yes. 4-3, motion passes. All right.
Sorry.
Next item of business.
preliminary plat, Lot 1, DHR Sonic Edition, Davidson Engineering.
Okay, this is a preliminary plat for Lot 1 Sonic DHR Edition. It is going to be located at 3110 Bill Foster Memorial Highway, which is also Arkansas Highway 321. The owner is DHR Group LLC. It's currently zoned commercial C2. They're proposing it to stay commercial, and they're proposing to put a drive-through restaurant, as you'll see in the site plan that comes here shortly. The property is, again, located on Highway 321 at the corner of Highway 321 and South First Street. It's approximately 1.93 in acreage and size. Again, there's an existing retail building of Regions Bank on it that they will be demolishing and doing a new build on. There are just a couple outstanding items in the staff report that can easily be addressed with the applicant. If you have any other questions for me, I can answer them. If not, the applicant's here with us as well if you have any.
Mr. Davis?
Let's hope this goes better.
We're praying.
And then people are coming in.
All right, Barry Davidson with Davidson Engineering on behalf of the applicant. I've got with me tonight two of our directors of operations for DHR Sonic, Mr. Dean Morris and Mr. John Goddard. I've got Mike Matthias with me, who's a general contractor for DHR Sonic on various projects around the state. We're super excited about this project. As Ms. Noble said, this would be a demolition of the existing Regions Bank structure and construction of a nice new Sonic drive-in at that location. I think We've addressed mostly all of Ms. Noble's comments and the rest of the staff's. I think they're easy to address. I have a question about one of the comments on the site plan, but none on the plat, which I believe is the first item up. So be glad to answer any questions if I can. If not, if you have questions about operations or anything like that, I'll redirect to Mr. Jean or John. Thanks.
What's the plan with the old sign?
It'll be sold, demolished. Yeah. We'll sell that property.
In that order? Sold and demolished or demolished and sold?
It'll be sold, and whether we demolish it or they demolish it, depending on the price.
We did something similar in Searcy on our Ray Street location, and it allowed, and this will too, let's build a nice new Sonic with wider drives, easier to get in and out of. But the really nice thing is that they keep their existing store open and then immediately move into a new store without ever being a time period, like on a scrape and rebuild where you're closed down for several months. So.
Commissioner, any questions? I'll entertain a motion to approve the preliminary plat.
Motion to approve the staff comments.
The motion to approve. Lowe, second, Prater. Roll call vote, please.
Lowe,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
Bird,
Yes, as long as you can still buy crushed ice.
O'Gwen,
Yes.
All right, 6-0, motion just passed. All right, next item.
site plan, lot 1, DHR Sonic Edition, Davidson Engineering.
Okay, so this is going to be the site plan for the exact same piece of property that we just discussed. It is on Highway 321. It is the corner of Highway 321 and South First Street. They are proposing to build, as we've already discussed, a new Sonic location. The square footage of the building, if I go here, is approximately 1,300, 1,400 square feet, I believe, if I can read the fine print. There are only a couple outstanding items that are not addressed. We did have some, let me grab some other notes. The engineer did get comments to me late yesterday afternoon. They had a couple outstanding items that they asked me to make sure that were included in the comments, just as far as adding some striping to show the direction of the flow of the traffic that would be going through the property. The sidewalk along North First Street needs to go from property corner to property corner. It's also not located within the right-of-way. If it's not going to be located within the right-of-way, it will have to be a dedicated easement so that the property owner would have to maintain it versus if it's in the city right-of-way, the city maintains it. There was not a detail for the dumpster area. We just want to make sure that it's going to meet the requirements to have a dumpster enclosure with a fence and gates as well. And then the sign, I know it's just showing as proposed. All of these site plans, we want to make sure we get that tied down on where that location is going to be to make sure it meets our sign regulations. The comments that are in the staff report, again, are not anything that we cannot, staff can address with the applicant, because we need to make sure we show adequate lighting on the site as well. And I think those were the major items that were in the staff report.
Landscape plan's been submitted as well?
Yes, sir.
What is it, hatch, there's concrete hatches for some of those angled stalls, and then there's some other smaller ones. What's the reasoning on those?
So, let me tell you correctly, and Gene, those that are concrete are under our awning.
Right.
And so those to the south of that would be like employee parks that are not under an awning.
Yep, correct. So those are not actual stalls, they're parking places.
But generally on our other stores, use concrete paving under the awnings. Just, yeah.
And that's fronting 321, correct?
That's right. I do have a question about one of the comments, if that's okay, if this is the time for that. And I think we're agreeable to all of these. Ms. Noel's been helpful. She met with me before we really even got started on the site plan to go over, just so I could ask her questions and get feedback from her. But one of these comments, and it's not necessarily a sticking point for us, it just seemed odd, and we were hopeful that we could avoid it, was to add a sidewalk along the east property line, along that private access road where there's an existing easement that's been filed. Again, this is not a sticking point to us, it just seems odd because it will be going to nowhere. That's not a city street, and we just felt like it would look odd, a dead-end sidewalk going back, so. Oh, okay, we're good with that, never mind. I think we were talking about two different things, so that makes more sense.
Extending it all the way there.
Yeah, we misunderstood the comments. We're agreeable to all the comments.
Any questions from commissioners? Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion from Commissioner Lowe, do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Byrd. Roll call, please.
Lowe,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Irwin,
Yes. All right, 6-0, motion does pass.
And I did tell Bear that I grew up in Cabot. I lived in the Lincoln Street apartments. We found plenty of places to play. Graduated.
Hey, wait, do we need to be concerned with Sonics buying banks out now? I mean, when he pulls some money out?
I don't know.
Hey, Bear, I've got a sketch I'd like to talk with you about after meeting or probably sometime about
Okay,
idea on that PUD.
I'd like to see it. Should I call you tomorrow about it?
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Laura?
Site plan,
you?
site plan,
I thought
has
he was gonna
waterworks,
build
bond
a
engineer.
house and he's gonna
Okay,
make it
this
look
is a
better.
site plan. The
That's
project
dangerous
is
for all that
actually
crap.
a platted lot of Lot 1 Cabot Animal Sport Services addition. But this is a site plan for the Cabot Waterworks office. It is actually at the corner of First Station and South Adams Street. The property is a undeveloped piece of property and is vacant. It's about 3 acres in size. They would have access off of First Station as well as access off of South Adams Street. The property is zoned R1. They are proposing a 9,600 square foot size building with associated parking as well. Again, it's for the Cabot Waterworks. There are only a few minor outstanding items, certifications, a drainage report, which Aaron and I have already discussed, that he has to give to me as well. So there's nothing that the applicant and I cannot take care of.
Is that a special use permit with R1?
No, sir. With it being in a city service facility, it can be.
Fits on your total, no?
Yes.
Questions from Laura? Mr. Robinson, you have anything to, hey, two Mr. Robinsons. Anything you want to add?
Unless y'all have any questions, I understood Laura wrong whenever we started working on this as far as the drainage goes, so I misunderstood, but we have that report now to give to her.
Okay.
So unless y'all have any questions for me.
Commissioners, any questions? Not entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
A motion from Commissioner Knapp, second from Commissioner Prater. Roll call vote, please, Aaron.
Knapp,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
Irwin,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
6-0, motion does pass. All right, next item of business, Aaron.
site plan, lot 1R, Hampton Commercial Edition, bond engineers.
Laura?
Okay, our last agenda item, it is a site plan for a parking lot extension. It is located at 1101 South Pine Street, which is known as Purple Onion. That is actually an existing restaurant that is there. They are proposing to expand their parking lot to the north to accommodate for the many patrons that visit their restaurant. They're doing this, again, for the much-needed parking lot that they need that is accessed off of the private drive on Hampton Place. They're proposing to have an access off of South Pine Street that will have to be approved by RDOT to allow that drive. So Aaron and I have discussed that they have submitted the site plan with that driveway contingent on RDOT approving them to have that driveway location there. It does meet the distance requirements that the city requires for driveway separation. There were a couple other outstanding items in the staff report. One of the major ones is an RDOT driveway approval permit. And then we've got to deal with some FEMA concerns as far as that property for the parking lot being that close to the floodway. Other than that, I don't have anything for me.
Thank you. Aaron, is it going to be all concrete? The
Yes.
extension of the concrete?
Yeah, the existing parking lot's all concrete, this will be all concrete as well.
And does that drive align with the existing drive that's
Yes.
there now?
Across the road, it does.
Any other questions?
No.
And I will say that we have submitted, Laura's actually been copied on the emails to RDOT almost 2 weeks ago to try and get a driveway permit, so it has been submitted.
All right.
How many additional parking spots is that gonna, I guess I can count, right?
I want to say it was 17 or 19, something like that. We actually created an island between the two to have a little bit more interior landscaping.
Yeah, I count 21.
But we lost it.
Yeah, for interior landscape.
Drive aisle.
I think the total number was 17 or 19, it may have been 19, was the total new number.
Great. Any questions? Entertain a motion to approve?
Make a motion with the contingency.
You have a motion to approve with the staff contingencies.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Byrd. Roll call vote, please, Aaron.
Prater,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
LeGuen,
Yes.
Lowe,
Yes.
Knapp,
Yes.
6-0, motion does pass. Community input. Any community input? Thought we had a lot of community input. Seeing none. Laura, do you have a plan for when you're going to bring some of those EDC things we talked about?
In the future.
Maybe the next meeting. Laura and I talked about possible updates to UDC and some other things that we see a lot of coming in. So, well, to be determined. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.